Alrighty, so UFC 291 in the books. I can't say it was a great card. It was good. Don't get me wrong. It was not a waste of time or anything like that. Not saying anything like that. But I look at the card and I'm like, main event was cool, but ended in the second round. Fairly early on, 6 minutes of fun. Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira was not amazing. It wasn't terrible, but it was not amazing. I've seen it getting a little bit more hate than I think appropriate on the Twitter machine. But I think it was illy affected by the altitude. Derrick Lewis had a cool knockout in 33 seconds. Bobby Green, Tony Ferguson is, let's be honest, mostly a sad fight. And pretty much anything with Tony Ferguson going forward is probably also going to be the same. Kevin Hall and Michael Chiesa wasn't as good as I thought it would be. Gabriel Bonfim had a cool finish. Vergara Salvador made me lose my mind. Kopylov versus Ribeiro had a cool finish, but the fight itself is not amazing. Jake Matthews, Darius Flowers was pretty okay. Eros Bennett versus Matt Semelsberger, that was pretty good. Miranda Maverick versus Priscilla Cachoeira was mostly a dominance. And of course, we didn't get the Wonder Boy Thompson Michelle Pereira fight because Pereira missed weight. And to be clear, I have mixed feelings about Wonder Boy Thompson's career at this point. Not like in retrospect, but like in what he wants to do. Because he's still talking about how I want to go to the title, but I'm also going to refuse any bouts against anybody who can wrestle or who wrestles as a primary source of offense. Which, let me be clear, if you just want to be a fun, you just want to do fun fights. You just want to go out there, you want to have essentially kickboxing matches in MMA. Cool. Awesome. Fine. But you are putting yourself outside of serious title and divisional relevancy by doing that. Because and again, I have no problem with it because those are the fights I want to see Wonder Boy in. I just would prefer that if you're going to have those fights, you're going to have those standards, you just stop talking about the title. That's all. That's all. And people are angry that he didn't take the fight with Pereira missing weight by 3 pounds, I do believe. It's completely in his right. There's some there are some people who are like, oh, they're just going to feed him to Renat Fakhretdinov after this and do the thing. And well, he can just turn that fight down. He is an independent contractor. My understanding with Wonder Boy is he doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the money. He's got a decent core of finance and income from outside of his fights. So, he doesn't need the money. The money is not life-changing money. We know this. We know UFC fighter pay sucks. Yeah. He could just turn that down and wait for a good fight or just kind of slide off into pseudo-retirement. So people are actually asking for him to be cut. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that there's a rival out there the UFC has to worry about him getting picked up by. But if they cut him, okay, that's not really punishing him. He could probably actually go make more money and get those exact fights he wants in Bellator, for example, depending on who ends up buying them. But even I don't know, KSW or Ryzen. Really, Wonder Boy Thompson and Ryzen. That's got me intrigued. Anyways, that's the card in the zoom out overview. Let's get into the specifics. Main event, BMF belt. Don't care. Don't need it. Don't need it hyped. They really tried to make it a thing, and I said this in the preview. I don't think the BMF belt adds anything to this. Nothing whatsoever. I understand the idea that these are two guys who should, if there's a BMF in the division, it's one of these two guys. They're going to go in there. They're going to have an incredibly violent fight, whatever. But these are all just reasons to see them fight each other. It's to a certain degree my theory that people are oh, of course we got to put a belt on a Conor McGregor fight. No, you don't. His biggest draws are actually non-title fights. Donald Cerrone, Dustin Poirier, Nate Diaz. Habib's up there. But his Aldo fight didn't particularly draw. It did, But like by Connor's standards, it didn't draw. It's not in his top 5. Even the Eddie Alvarez fight, like that's a super card, and that still drew less than some of his non-title fights. So it's kind of the same thing here. Is like Gaethje Poirier. That's a dope fight. It doesn't need this BMF dressing, and I doubt that anybody bought this fight because of the BMF belt. And someone did point out that like not just someone, the MMA Vivisection podcast pointed out that this probably is like a legal thing. Like, they probably are required to put a belt on a main event for a pay-per-view per the ESPN deal with maybe some carve out for Conor McGregor. Okay, that's stupid. And like that's stupid on ESPN's side, because if you've written it up so that the UFC can make up a belt, not make up a division and create a new belt like they did for Duran Amin versus Holm, but like literally just make up a gimmick belt to put at the top of the pay-per-view, then what have you achieved with that thing? So, I mean, if that is the case, then ESPN, UFC, come together on the next TV agreement. I'm going to call it a TV agreement. It's not really a TV agreement, but the next agreement, the next rights agreement, the next broadcasting agreement, and just get rid of that part. Because it's stupid, and it leads to like trying to make something incredibly serious into a serious thing. Like seeing the UFC denote like, I don't know, 15 to 20 minutes of the broadcast to talk about what the BMF belt means to the sport. Get out of here. The fight itself was pretty good. I regretted my pick very, very early on. Because Gaethje came out there and looked like he had answers. Like the low kicks were still flying early. Poirier was being compromised by them a little bit. Not as bad as in the first fight. But every time Dustin would get the boxing combinations going, Justin would have some level of an answer. He would blitz back. He would land counters. He would stick him with the jab. He would set up head kicks. He looked amazingly prepared. Not that he dominated, not that he destroyed Poirier, not that he did anything like that. But there was a palpable difference from the first fight, where in the first fight, it didn't really seem like Justin had a safe or effective counter to what Poirier was doing. He could win exchanges by just being a madman, a psychotic version of Homer Simpson when he was a boxer. But there was no real answer. This time he had it. He had the ideas. He had the techniques to just stop Poirier in his tracks, basically, to make those exchanges that Dustin was winning last time be Justin's exchanges. Poirier's exchanges from the first fight, Gaethje's in the second fight. I really shouldn't say Dustin and Justin. That is going to get confusing. And then in the second round, we got some Poirier chants. Bit weird because like Gaethje is the closer to the hometown guy. He's from Colorado. Maybe I'm just not understanding a deep rivalry between Utah and Colorado that I'm just unaware of. Maybe it's something like Michigan, Ohio, or, various other things. And then he gets head kicked. And when I say he, I mean Poirier. Poirier gets head kicked by Gaethje, goes down, he's done. And not done in like a career sense, but like done on the night. And Justin Gaethje wins. He wins a fight in this whole violence weight, super can't miss trilogy 3-man tournament with Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier finally. He'll get a title shot after this, I imagine. Because who the heck else are you going to do? Like Beneil's out of title contention territory. We're going to get Charles versus Islam. Unless there's some controversy there that demands a third fight between them right away. There isn't anyone. And to be clear, I also like that Justin, he fought down when he fought Rafael Fiziev. And, he hasn't really squatted on his rank the way some others have. Like, there's a little bit there, obviously. But, like, I also think it's, like, they wouldn't offer him a mid-round fight. And that's going to explain my Poirier pick here, because Poirier is due to fight down. He hasn't fought down yet. He's been basically a title contender, fighting in title fights or against the sort of rarefied, very top end of the division, which is Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje, Makhachev, Charles Oliveira, and Poirier, obviously. Those 5 are like the absolute top. They are, outside of Chandler, I think, the actual best fighters in the division. But if you're going to get this division rolling forward and you're going to get the likes of Arman Tsarukyan to actually be champions of the future, which a lot of people believe he will be, they have to at some point fight. Otherwise, we end up with like a Makhachev situation where I remember having to defend Makhachev getting a title shot because people would be like, oh, he's only beaten Dan Hooker and Bobby Green. It's like, yeah, that's because the top 5 is like, incestuously fighting itself. And I guess Tony Ferguson in the mix. And as a result, we have a bunch of people at the time who had very poor resumes for a title shot, despite the fact that they clearly were good. Like Makhachev was clearly good. I mean, he ended up winning the belt. To avoid that, you need guys like Poirier to fight to give that chance. I've got Gamrot Fiziev winner, which I'm hoping is Fiziev, because Fiziev Poirier is a really cool fight. I don't really think that Poirier versus Gamrot is. So here's hoping. Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Oliveira, co-main event. Alex Pereira. Pereira's debut at 205. At least in the UFC. And it was scary early because Blachowicz goes for a takedown right away. Commentary was surprised by this. And I do agree. I thought this would be a more Jan Izzy-like performance, where Jan, realizing that, to be honest, he doesn't have the greatest cardio in the world. He doesn't have the greatest grappling in the world. It's not the most efficient. And he would essentially punish the kicks, make Pereira uncomfortable at range, and then go to the wrestling. But he went right away to the wrestling, got a takedown, got a really slick back take, like very slick. Worked on the rear naked choke, couldn't get it. Finished the round on top. Easy 10-9 for Jan. And then it fell apart. Jan got tired as the fight went on. Again, altitude, 40 years old, historical problem with cardio in the past. Starts to fade, and not that Alex Pereira is looking like a game busters on the feet or anything, because obviously he's concerned about the takedown. This is something I think a lot of people need to get through their head. I was talking with someone about the idea that Colby Covington's striking only functions with the threat of a takedown. He could not grasp his way around it. He's like, no. He's winning, but he's winning striking exchanges. Yes, but he's winning striking exchanges where the fighter is not focusing entirely on striking. And that was this. I mean, Pereira had to pare down, make it simple, which is something, his game is not super complex, but, he had to keep it relatively low output, and to avoid the takedowns, which Jan was still going for. He even got did he get a takedown in the second round? Yeah. He got a takedown in the second round. Jan, I'm saying. Alex did not take down Jan. And, Alex managed to get back up and keep landing some good shots. Particularly, he had like some nice uppercuts to deal with, like the clinch separation stuff. So it was nice. Gave that round to Alex. Gave him the third round. I honestly don't understand how Jan won a card. Like, he got a takedown at the end of the third round for like 40 seconds, but he didn't do much with it. And I have in my notes here, he needs a finish. There wasn't much to it. I'm curious, what round did he get? MMA decisions to the rescue, please. Thank you. Oh, right. MMA Decisions still has this weird thing where their homepage is not working. You have to search by event. Like, I don't know. It's very bizarre. Here we are. Okay, so oh god, Gennaro Camijo gave the third round to Jan. Ron McCarthy and Derek Cleary have the right cards, in my opinion. If we hit UFC stats, am I just? Was there at least a close level of strikes landed? I doubt it. No, he got outlanded 35-26. Not ridiculous or anything, but yeah, 45 seconds of top control, 1 for 3 on takedowns. Getting hit harder? No. Ingeniero Camijo is actually one of the better judges in the sense that I am not constantly angry with his cards, but that one's a bad card. Next up, Pahea will probably get a title shot, probably against Yuri Prohaska. And for Jan, I actually really like the idea of him fighting Johnny Walker, because people keep trying to make noise about Johnny Walker being a guy who actually could be a thing in this division. And his, like, you know, range-based game, slow-paced, kind of annoying, why won't you be better game that John Kavanagh and SBG Ireland are working into him. Feels like it's the sort of thing that Jan normally would just stamp over. So, you know, let's see. I have not much to say about Derrick Lewis knocking out Marco Shajeri de Lima. He went out there, hit him with a switch knee, pounded him out. Boom, there you go. We had a balls is hot moment where Lewis dropped his pants directly afterwards. He did say he was a free agent, tends to return to the UFC, obviously. I'm just gonna say it. I'm not even a big bare knuckle FC fan, but if Derrick Lewis goes over to bare knuckle FC, I'm game. I'm game. Do it. Make it happen. Black Beast, go. There's not much I want to see him to do in MMA because we've seen it. He's in his late 30s now. He's not really gotten any better. Like he'll do this where it's like I in my prediction video, I'm like, I feel like Lewis is kind of done. And then he comes out here and he destroys Lima. But it's a performance that we have seen before. We'll probably see again. But at the same time, it's not interesting. There's not a lot of terribly interesting fights for him. And bare knuckle just seems like the thing he is literally born to do. So I don't really have any insight on his UFC matchmaking. For Lima, I've got Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Two guys that I think are at a similar point. Lima has, in ways, overachieved. Rozenstruik has underachieved. Might as well. Tony Ferguson, Bobby Green was... The first round was fine. Tony landed some good shots. Yes, his takedowns looked ugly, but he was competitive. And then the second and the third round were him just getting taken apart. And eventually Bobby Green arm triangles him into unconsciousness. We didn't get a retirement. I haven't seen anything indicating that Ferguson's retired, but please retire. I don't want to see it anymore. I don't. And I say this as someone who actually has historically disliked Tony his entire career. You would think I would enjoy watching him getting his arse whipped. I don't. I just don't. Bobby Green, I've got against Renato Moicano because Bobby Green just beat Tony Ferguson. Bobby Green is money, and Moicano wants money. I did appreciate Bobby Green shouting out Jeremy Horn afterwards. That's nice. Like, Jeremy Horn's a guy who probably deserves a lot more love in the MMA game than he gets. And he gets quite a bit because he's had a ridiculous number of fights. But he does seem like a guy who very much introduced people in a dark place in their life to the sport and helped mentor them through it and didn't ruin them financially in the process. So I appreciate that. Michael Chiesa, Kevin Holland. This was also just kind of sad. Chiesa had been out for a while. I probably should have taken that much more into consideration when I was picking the fight. But he had nothing for Holland as a striker. He couldn't get him down. He got hit with a big knee and then eventually Darce choked. And that was it. Like, it's a good performance for Kevin Holland, but it's also like a I don't know. It's just like it's the flaming raft is off on the way to Valhalla. Michael Chiesa's career. He even was looking like he was taking off his gloves, maybe to retire. Didn't do it. But and this probably is what made the Tony Ferguson fight also sad, is that we had kind of this as a back-to-back dose of two guys who were at one point very, very, very good. Very good. And are still tricky and are still crafty, but they're kind of done. And we just got to see them kind of just get slaughtered by younger, although in Bobby Green's case, not particularly young, younger fighters to rip them apart. Kevin Holland afterwards, he always kind of annoys me because like his thing was like, I saw some things in Chiesa's game that if Neil Magny was smarter, he would take advantage of and he would have got the win. Neil Magny's problem is not smarts. Neil Magny's problem is that he is just not a particularly good athlete, not particularly fast, not particularly strong, not particularly like he's made it on fight IQ. It's just limited. And I also didn't really like the commentary, particularly Joe Rogan. And at 170, I think Kevin Holland has fixed his wrestling problems because he no longer has to deal with these big guys, big, strong wrestler guys. Dude has not fought anyone who is a really particularly good wrestler at 170. Like Michael Chiesa was. I don't know if he is anymore, though, but Santiago Ponzinibbio, not a wrestler. Stephen Thompson, not a wrestler. Tim Means, not a wrestler. Alex Oliveira, not a wrestler. Like, that's the truth here, is that Holland maybe has fixed his wrestling issues at 170. Maybe. But there is actually no proof that that is the case because he's just not fought any wrestlers. And I don't even think he should. Like, you know, make him a sideshow attraction, have him fight Jack Della Maddalena. There you go. There you go. I like it. It's a dope fight. Chiesa retirement, like I said. Trevin Giles got kind of big brothered by Gabriel Bonfim. They got into the clinch, and Bonfim took him down because he had very good underhooks. And, yeah, slammed into the mat. Got the guillotine. Boom. Done. Bonfim versus Zaleski. Giles versus Sluggernaut Johnny Parsons. Let's make that happen. I'm not really going to say much about CJ Vergara versus Vinicius Salvador. If you've not watched this fight card, this is your skip fight. It wasn't good. There you go. It was not good. I agree with Dean Thomas when he said like CJ Vergara needs to go out there and put the pressure on Salvador. You miss weight, make it happen, do your thing. And he did not do that, but he did end up winning the fight. Salvador's... I am not a big fan of showboating fighters, period. There are a handful of guys that actually I don't mind it on because they're at least doing cool stuff. They're out there... They are out there actually styling on an opponent. And Salvador was not doing that. Salvador probably could win this fight if he was serious about fighting. Like even his corner was exceptionally angry about how he was fighting. And this is terrible. Like the guy's supposedly an amazing grappler. This is the idea, but he has no intent of going to the ground. He is going to give you a long, physically capable striking game, but with all kinds of missing connective tissue. And that was this fight. I don't blame Vergara necessarily, other than, you know, a guy misses weight, you should probably put the pace on him, as Dean Thomas said. But I don't know. He's just kind of fine. Keep him around. Let him be a testing ground. But Salvador, I honestly want to see him get cut. CJ Vergara versus Azet Maxim is the one I have next. Roman Kopylov versus Claudio Ribeiro. This was fun. Kopylov was trying to pressure Ribeiro into the clinch. Or not the clinch, but into the fence. It wasn't really working. Led to a lot of leg kick exchanges. Kopylov landing a little bit too. I thought Ribeiro was winning the leg kick exchanges. Then he started to blitz at him a little bit. Works. Push Kopylov into the fence. Landed some quality shots. Doing his thing. Being the pressure guy. Kopylov landing some good counters. Some particularly like the counter straight that he was landing over the top. Very nice. And he even had Ribeiro hurt pretty badly towards the end of or in the middle of the round. And then at the end, I thought Ribeiro stole the first round because despite the fact that it looked like Kopylov actually had hurt Ribeiro, Ribeiro comes back, clips him with an overhand, has him hurt. He's unloading, goes for a takedown for some reason, and that more or less ends the round. And then he gets head kicked. Paving the way for Justin Gaethje later in the night, Roman Kopylov decapitates Claudio Ribeiro. And called out Sean Strickland afterwards. No. When you're best, well, okay, I guess two things. The best things that you've got going for you are you look like a Russian Chase Hooper. And the UFC obviously tries to use anyone named off to like build up a star. I mean, like in all seriousness, like Abus Magomedov got the fight against Sean Strickland, so I guess why not? But no, not happening. I would love Roman Kopylov versus Marc-Andre Barria. That is a fight on this card that I come out of this passionate about seeing. And speaking of Abus Magomedov, I have Claudio Ribeiro against Abus Magomedov in the most comically inefficient fight of all time. Make that happen. Please not at altitude, but make that happen. Jake Matthews, Darius Flowers. I still don't know what to make of Flowers. There are a handful of things about him that I actually do like. I like his footwork, for example. It seems like his understanding of boxing, but that he does not apply at all. Like he'll just kind of crash in there and get hit. And it's very, 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 very obvious how he gets finished constantly when he actually boxes. And Matthews was digging to the body, trying to slow his pressure. Relatively messy fight early on. Matthews stings Flowers. But I think Flowers oversold it, trying to get Matthews to come in and swarm him. And it didn't really happen. And Flowers ends up getting a takedown. Goes to side control. He has a really nice ability to actually go from a takedown to side control. Like he is actually legitimately good at that. But there's nothing else after that. And he got stuck in a guillotine that wasn't going to work. So Jake Matthews not exactly showing the greatest grappling either, but he managed to get that back to guard. And anyways, I had Flowers winning the round. Then we go into the second round. And Dean Thomas is talking about working the body to set up the head kick. And Matthews does, kick him in the head. And then he throws a thrust kick. The ball of his foot. And Joe Rogan will go on the record saying this is a legal shot because he's an idiot. The ball of his foot hits the gut of Flowers. That is legal. That is the predominant contact of the strike. But his heel clearly does hit Flowers in the junk. It is very clear that yes, the main thrust of the shot landed legal, but it landed low as well. Like, I mean, as someone who has been, you know, kicked in the nuts with a heel, yes, even if it lands somewhere else, that is not a pleasant experience, and it is a problem. Anyways, that was, I guess, the highlight of the night from Rogan. And then from that point onwards, I think Flowers kind of fell apart because Flowers now Flowers has been had up until that point been pretty messy, but like at this point we get into the Flowers is not boxing, he is swanging haymakers, and Matthews is landing to the body, landing combinations, doing his thing. Flowers goes for a takedown, really just kind of a bowling into him. Matthews stuffs it hard, ends up on top position, looks for Kimura. Maybe it was a bait because he was in half guard and it wasn't really going to work. And Flowers is a pretty strong guy, but he ends up getting them out. We have a weird mouthpiece adjustment for Flowers. Flowers gives up his back. Quick rear naked choke. I think he kind of gave up. I don't really think the fight does anything for Matthews because it didn't alleviate my concerns that he is still kind of really messy. Like that there is moments of, I don't want to say brilliance because I think that's overselling it, but there are sparks of like a really, really good fighter in Jake Matthews. There are moments where he looks like he is turned that corner. And there's even fights of it, the Andre Fialho fight. But there are also moments of just absolute messiness that have never left him. For our next opponent, I have summoned from the depths Phil Rowe, another guy who maybe is something. And I don't really know or care about Flowers because, like, he's a reasonably entertaining fighter, but like he's a reasonably entertaining fighter at a very, very low level. And I don't think he's going to get any better. Like he doesn't, we're talking about how Matthews has like moments of improvement, moments of hope, sparks of this guy could actually be something. Flowers doesn't, outside of like being really good at transitioning to side control off a takedown, there's nothing really there. And he's a little bit too old, I think. Am I confusing him with someone who's like older? He's 28. All right, I am confusing him with someone when I'm talking about age. But like 28 years old, 12-6-1, has chin issues, has cardio issues. There's suspicion he's throwing boxing matches. I kind of feel like he was looking for a way out in this one. And yeah, there's just not much there. Like I'm not going to boycott a fight of his in the UFC. I don't care who's on the other side of it. Like he's low level gatekeeper. Matt Semelsberger was having a pretty good fight against Uros Medic. He was clipping him. He dropped him, I think, like twice. Medic staggered him as well, was doing his thing. There was a particular moment. When was it? Semelsberger knocked him down. It was in the first round. He knocked him down with a big countering a big left straight from Medic with his own shot. And the corner is yelling, let him up, let him up, let him up, let him up. Like they want Medic to have to stand up while he's hurt and have Semelsberger do his thing. And he doesn't do it. He falls him to the ground. There's some messy grappling. Medic starts throwing up kicks. He hurts him. And there is a wild exchange that goes basically the diameter of the cage all the way to the other side and ends with Semelsberger looking for a takedown, getting it, and Semelsberger getting up really quickly. Semelsberger hurt him again in that exchange. It was phenomenally messy, but entertaining. And he, second round kind of more of the same, just a little bit more subdued, a little bit more of a simmer. And then we go into the third round. Semelsberger's up 2-0. He's being told that in the corner, kind of looking for a clinch and wall, maybe. Medic starts landing some nice counters. Semelsberger does land his own nice right hand as well. Medic then stings him in what was a kind of crazy flurry, and then drops him with a spinning back fist, although it was the forearm that hit him. And then we get kind of a questionable finish. I thought Semelsberger was doing enough to defend himself compared to, other stoppages, but I don't know. I'm also not losing any sleep over it. So Medic wins. A big Semelsberger, god damn it. I did end up with a 6-5 record, I do believe. I picked Maverick, Matthews, Kopylov, Vergara, Bonfim. So I was 5-1 to start the night. But then I lost on Chiesa. I picked up a win on Bobby Green. And then I lost the remaining 3 fights because I took Lima, Jan, and Poirier. So yeah, that ended up being pretty bad. And in the opener, opponents. Semelsberger I've got against Nico Price. I don't know why, but that's a fight that has pretty much since Semelsberger showed up been an interest of mine. And for Medic, I've got Munier Lezez, assuming he stays at 170. Miranda Maverick, more or less just wrestle I don't want to say the F word. Maverick just took down Cachoeira and showed her that, you're not very good. And, there's a reason that Cachoeira on the ground tends to eye gouge and grab the cage and put the toes in the cage and get warned constantly and even grab the gloves. Even had a moment where her hand got caught in Maverick's top strap, which may or may not have been intentional. She's just not good. She's just not good, and she is super scummy, to use someone in my Discord's terminology. I don't know. Does this mean that Maverick is turning turning it around? I don't know. Cachoeira should be cut. Frankly, I don't think she offers much other than just negative PR. I don't even really think she really tests people because she hits hard. I'll give her that. But she is, despite Joe Rogan's claims to the contrary, and we know Joe Rogan does not seemingly remember who fighters are. He just has a narrative in his head. You're looking at Cachoeira coming forward with Zombie Girl nickname, which is applicable. Flat-footed, swanging, not very clean, not very technical strikes at people. And you're like, no, she's actually a really good striker. No, she is not. And it also makes her very, very easy to take down if you have the strength to do it, and Maverick does. So I don't know. It doesn't necessarily mean much for Maverick. I'm tempted to ever go against someone like a JoJo Wood, because Joanne Wood is someone who is technical, well-rounded, and has made a career off of being the lesser athletic fighter. And as a result, will hopefully not just fold to Maverick's physicality. And I don't care about Cachoeira. I pretty much never have since she came in. What is her record in the UFC? She's 12-5 overall. I believe she came in undefeated. Yeah, she got squashed by Valentina Shevchenko, lost to Molly McCann and Luana Carolina. Don't honestly know how she kept her job after that. Knocked out Shannon Dodson, who should not have been here. Gina Mazzani should not have been here. Lost to Jillian Robertson. Got a 2-fight win streak, and her most impressive fight win, Ariane Lipsky. But she also beat Jian Kim, whose run in the UFC was very bad. Cachoeira, in fact, Kim was actually already on a 2-fight losing skid when she lost to Cachoeira. And I don't know. This is one of those rare occasions where someone being just a scummy human being does actually bug me, because when you're a scummy human being and you're not good at fighting, there's kind of a problem. Anyways, that was UFC 291. I will be back at you on Thursday with predictions. What do we got coming up? This was a relatively short episode. So, what do we got on the next upcoming fight night? Is it a good one? We have got, Corey Sandhagen, Rob Font. Yes. Jessica Andrade, Tatiana Suarez. Yes. Justin Jacoby versus Kennedy Njoku. Yes. Gavin Tucker, Diego Lopez. Yes. Not super excited for the next one, two. But we get back to being excited. Ronnie Barcelos, Kyler Phillips. Yes. Even Jeremiah Wells, Carlson Harrison. Carlson Harris. It's a weird one. But, no, that's pretty cool. Damon Jackson, Billy Quarantillo. Yeah. Jake Hadley, Cody Durden. Nice. And then Ode Osborne versus... I am not recognizing this guy. Kazakhstan fighter Asu Almabayev. Where has he been fighting? He's been fighting in Brave CF. Okay. I'm going to have to brush up on him because I don't watch Brave. I probably have seen him, and he's got some wins over people I recognize, like Zach Makovsky. 2022 Zach Makovsky, but Zach Makovsky. How has Zach been doing? Has he just been on like a really bad run? Kind of been on a little bit of a bad run. He's 2-4 in his last 6, including a loss to Yanni Sherbatov, who is not amazing. Not amazing. Not great. Okay. Maybe I don't know. That'll be a fight I'll definitely probably try and check out when I'm scouting it. But I don't know. That's you know what, for a fight night card. And is it an Apex card? Is it an Apex card or are we on the road? We're on the road in Nashville. Okay, that would explain it. Still, that's a pretty good card. That's pretty good. I have nothing negative to say about that one. And yeah, we'll put an end to it there. Check out the social medias down below. Places where you can find the podcast is down below. And if you enjoy my personality, there's some gaming stuff. So check it out. I will see you guys. Not see, but you will hear me next time.